Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Have you ever had an MRI before with contrast and told that it was completely safe? If so, keep watching because this episode could literally save your life. The message of today's show of This Is Floxed is for anyone who has or will have an MRI with gadolinium-based contrast dye, but with a special emphasis on individuals that have fluoroquinolone toxicity, also known as being floxed. This means a person is experiencing the adverse effects of a fluoroquinolone antibiotic like Cipro or levofloxacin and many others. Because of the tendon damage caused by this class of antibiotics, someone that is floxed will have many MRIs over their lifetime. And once someone is floxed and already experiencing one toxicity, the last thing they need to do is have another one injected during an MRI. Gadolinium is a chemical element, a heavy metal, commonly used as a contrast agent in MRI scans. Doctors may admit that it is inherently toxic, but they will also tell you that it is considered safe in diagnostic doses because it's bound to carrier molecules. However, an alarming phenomenon observed in all patients, not just people that are floxed, all patients exposed to MRI contrast agents, regardless of brand, is the retention of gadolinium in vital organs, including the brain. The long-term retention in the body can lead to severe adverse reactions, which we will discuss today. My first guest is Debbie Heist Lambert, an advocate for all medically injured patients after her own life changed drastically following the first and then multiple injections of a gadolinium-based contrast agent. She published her first book in 2024, Gadolinium Deposition and Toxicity, Humanizing A Life-Changing Event. The book contains 7 years of personal experience, research, and the stories of 24 other patients. So with that being said, I'll bring out Debbie to the show first to kick it off.
Good morning.
Hi, Debbie. How are you?
Good. Hi, everyone. It's nice
All right.
to meet you.
So to kick off the show, can you explain what a GBCA, a gadolinium-based contrast agent, is and why it's so toxic and what it did to you?
Yes. Gadolinium-based contrast agent, as you mentioned, is used in diagnostic imaging. It's used to take a picture of the inside of the body. It helps the radiologist see what's going on and identify the ailment that you're suffering from or the injury, whatever's going on in your body. Gadolinium itself is a toxic rare earth metal, and that's undisputed by everyone. There isn't one person who understands gadolinium that doesn't know that it is toxic to the human body. To use it in imaging, what they do is they wrap it in a ligand, and that ligand is now known to be problematic. The agents have been used for over 30 years and injected well over 500 million times. So we learn as we go, and we've learned about this toxicity that gadolinium is causing injury and chaos in human bodies. And so that's what it did to me. I was injured. First, I lost my memory. Then second, they looked to see if I had Alzheimer's, and of course I didn't have Alzheimer's, but my brain did test injured in 4 areas. And so then it just grew from there. I had a total of 4 injections. Then I met the groups and the people, and the groups, the members of people who have been injured has continued to grow. We get several hundred every single month. joining our community. And gadolinium does seem to be problematic once it's in the human body. It is retained forever, and it can create chaos.
Yeah. I'm sorry that happened to you. Once it's in there, you know. So I'm going to bring out my second guest, your friend. My second guest is Naomi Sussman, who started advocating in 2023 when she had anaphylaxis immediately following the administration of an untracked gadolinium-based contrast agent. Naomi became very sick and declined since then. Naomi avidly shares concerns of gadolinium on our bodies, in the environment, and its lasting impact on our waterways. She not only voices concerns for gadolinium, but is also fervent about speaking out for all people who are medically gaslit or harmed by our allopathic and pharmaceutical industries. So with that, welcome Naomi to the show.
Hi.
Hi. Now I got you both. So my first question for you is, what are the symptoms of gadolinium toxicity? And now what did you experience after Debbie explained what she did?
Well, gadolinium toxicity has such a broad range, but a lot of the reported diagnosed for sure that we have is this horrible pain throughout your whole body, fire burning your brain. Your skin changes. So the dermal, you'll see differences. It could be different things to even just rashing, which is part of MCAS. And then you also can have nephrogenic systemic fibrosis. There's so much head pain, brain fog, the intensity of what goes on in your head disrupts a lot of your neurological as well. So people have had reports of that. Deep bone pain, ENT issues, edema, so swelling, weakness, you have deep bone pain, rib cage tightness, and hormonal changes, kidney issues, organ issues, heart issues. So countless of added issues. For me, I sadly suffered immediate anaphylaxis with edema. So I had swelling on my face, and I had a shooting pain through my arm that went straight up from my injection arm to my brain. And so it's very similar to those that have had immediate reactions. Delayed reactions can be the similar symptoms, sometimes just not feeling well. Rashes, they need to be questioned because you did have this metal in you.
What's delayed? Like how long after could this affect you?
So for some people, it can be immediate. And for others, it can be onset. We've heard of stories even years later. Triggered by another event, sometimes another contrast, because what we do know now is that gadolinium, the MRI contrast itself, is now storing in our bodies forever. And so it can be reactivated if it's naturally stirred up.
Can it be reactivated by an MRI without contrast? And I ask that because there are people that have had contrast and had issues with it, and then they say, I want an MRI with no contrast, and they feel like they're safe, and then they go in the MRI and they are disasters. Like in the Floxed community, we get brain fog, tinnitus, pain increases. I'm like, but I didn't get gadolinium. Do you know why that occurs?
Oh yeah, sadly I had my own event. And so gadolinium, because it's stored in your body, it's a heavy metal, and you're back in a magnet, it's reacting. So you have this big spinning magnet that's pulling this metal back into your body, into your cells, coming out of your bones, because it's stored in soft tissue. So you'll feel it in your eyes, you can feel it back in your mouth, your organs. Like you can feel this intensity. For me, I ended up going back in and had a fever of 101 to 104 for almost 6 months. straight.
Wow.
So please know that, yes, if you have been floxed and you went in and had a contrast first, and even a year later, there's been people who've reported that they've been physically sick. They might have vomited even during these processes, just because their body cannot handle the added toxicity as well.
And this can also happen to non-flox people that have an MRI, are fine, and then have it next time, and then same thing, right? It's for everybody.
Yes. And I do think that it can happen anytime when you get back in an MRI machine, and we don't really understand the mechanisms behind that. But one of the things that we do know is we call those flares, and flares can reignite a lot of the pain and things. This is a systemic, gadolinium is a systemic injury. And so people really need to understand that, because the gadolinium resides in the brain, the bones, the tissue, and the organs. And it can set off all kinds of things, and different things can set it off, including going back in the MRI machine. We do have a lot of patients who go back in the MRI machine and don't, and say they're fine and they don't have symptoms. But as Naomi mentioned, I've had the similar thing where I've gotten back in one time and I didn't have symptoms. The next time I got back in, I had horrible symptoms that lasted for months and months. And
oh my goodness. Oh. Ugh. Then you're like, okay, now I'm going to be safe. Now I know, and I'm going to take the precautions, but you're still potentially going to get sick. Ugh. So Debbie, I wanted to ask you this question. So gadolinium deposition disease. I was researching all of this before we had this interview. So I saw how debated it is in the medical community, which like blows my mind. It's the same thing with being floxed, right? How debated that is as well. But the CDC has acknowledged the toxicity and created medical and diagnostic billing codes for the toxic effects of gadolinium. So for everybody that's watching this, trust me, I know I've been part of the project to get codes of fluoroquinolone toxicity. The CDC does not give codes for things that don't exist. So why do you think that people are still debating this?
that's a great question. And I have some of my own theories. And of course, they're just theories. But in talking to all the research doctors and even the doctors who treat gadolinium patients with things like chelation and stuff, we do have ICD-10 codes, and that's the good news. We just got those in 2023, but they're for the pieces and parts. They're not for the overarching disease. And so we need to get that acknowledged and approved. And so I think a lot of times doctors don't want to talk about it because there's not an umbrella disease for this. We call it gadolinium deposition disease, but then the American College of Radiology, they call it SAGE, symptoms associated with gadolinium exposure. So there's not that overarching decision yet that then the CDC can approve with a disease code. But yes, if you're a patient and you've experienced issues, please have your doctor log those ICD-10 codes related to gadolinium toxicity so we can get this recognized as a formal disease type, because we know it exists, we know it's happening. I think part of the reason it doesn't get acknowledged is from that, number one. Number two would be that there's no insurance available for treating the symptoms related to gadolinium and this toxic rare earth metal exposure. So while the insurance company pays to inject gadolinium into the patients, if a patient says, well, now how do I get it out of my body? The doctors don't have a good answer for that, right? There is no approved FDA solution to get it out of the body. So that's part of it as well, I think, is why people hesitate to talk about it. Why a doctor, that's a very uncomfortable conversation, and doctors go into medicine for all the right reasons, and they're limited by some of the solutions available to them. I think the third thing would be it's underreported. So doctors will say, well, we know gadolinium's retained. Let's not report it. Let's see how you do. Let's focus on your current symptoms and just keep moving forward. And so it gets underreported, and the FDA is not getting the red flags that it's problematic. And then if patients themselves try to go to report it, they may not have the information they need to file the report, such as the lot number, the brand name, and even the dosage. And then finally, I would think this is huge. This is a huge reason behind why we're not getting this recognized. It's education. So in 2022, Saudi Arabia did a survey with 460 non-radiology doctors and asked them what they knew about gadolinium. They asked them 8 different questions. The results of that study was huge in the lack of understanding amongst the people that they surveyed, that people aren't educated. Doctors are not educated on this contrast dye, this agent. And so until we get that resolved and we get more open dialogue going, we're not going to fix this. I'm just going to throw a couple numbers out. The survey did show that it was 74.6% had a poor recognition of gadolinium and what it even meant. And 53.5% who answered the question didn't even know that gadolinium was stored in the brain. There's all kinds of facts that came out with that. We've got to address those if we're going to move forward.
It sounds a lot like fluoroquinolone toxicity and what we go through for the same exact reasons. And you know, I bring that up because the next thing I'm going to ask is also like fluoroquinolone toxicity and the struggles that our groups face. So I'm going to switch over to Naomi for this one. So I read that, you know, out of 40 million MRI scans a year, approximately 1/3 get gadolinium contrast agents, right? So that's a big number, 33%. But then I found this like staggering statistic on PubMed, and I'm going to quote this, right? So there is no exact figure for the number of people affected by gadolinium toxicity, as the medical community categorizes it into different conditions. However, over the 500 million dosages administered globally, serious acute reactions occur roughly in only 0.03% cases. So now that leads people to say, oh, it's so rare. It's not even 1%. It's not even 0.1%. But when you do the math of 500 million and 0.03, that's 15 million people. That doesn't seem so rare. And that's the same thing that happens in our community as well. So what are your thoughts when people say that this toxicity is rare? The number of cases the number affected may be small, but the volume of people it's enormous.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. This is something that the gadolinium community has been questioning because, first off, like Debbie has mentioned, we don't really have real tracking. If doctors don't know what the symptoms and signs are, they just discredit and say, oh, you're fine. It's just whatever you're going through, or they just gaslight and ignore, or, they just don't know. They don't understand. And so when you have this misunderstanding and you're hearing from these radiology departments that are doing the scans that gadolinium's safe, it excretes within 24 hours. So in your head, you don't think it should be gone. It shouldn't be there even 36 hours. So then most people don't know to report. For me, my hospital didn't even report to the FDA the incident. There was no reporting, no nothing. And every doctor I asked them to report. No one did. And they still won't. And that is, you can't get true facts and information if patients aren't being heard and no one's actually accurately, doing the reporting part to the FDA to really understand the full aspect of these immediate reactions or not. I was told to buy a lottery ticket. I was so rare. I about 5 people at least a week telling me they had an immediate reaction, sneezing, rashing, watery eyes. They didn't understand the burning, veins blowing, just so many. So yes, I think that there should be a little bit more understanding that we just don't have that connection yet with our allopathic and medical to really understand how many are harmed. every day.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Naomi. I'm going to switch back to your counterpart over here, Debbie. Bing, 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 back and forth. So, Debbie, what are some of the misconceptions do you think that people have about gadolinium?
Well, for decades, the mantra was drink a lot of water and it'll be out of your system in 24 to 48 hours. And we still hear that. We still hear that from people. That's not true. Water will not remove this toxicant from your body. So it's there, it's happening. And then it's systemic. People don't realize that it's systemic. So that's a misconception. And then people are seeing it in their urine years later, and it can be unprovoked urine tests or provoked urine tests, and it's there. And so we're not addressing the root problem just because, I mean, you have symptoms and people can't see it. A doctor can't see it in a current labs that we run. Those are misconceptions, but our tools are outdated. So we're not really able to identify the issues related to this. Inflammation is a big deal. That's your body signaling to you saying something's wrong. And that's when we listen to our bodies, because we know our bodies better than anyone. That inflammation is what leads to further disease. And so you need to be paying attention to it and addressing it. Those are misconceptions that I think we don't talk enough about. And that this metal, when it's in the body's we really just trust yourself. If you're a patient, you know something's wrong in your body, irregardless of what your doctors are telling you. Misconceptions are that you can just go on. You can just keep going on, but that's not true. It's setting off things like mast cell activation syndrome. It's setting off things like small fiber neuropathy. Those are all things that are proven by testing, but there's just so much to this. And I just really want people to understand this is systemic. So even though you had it injected for your pancreas to look at your pancreas, just know that it's traveled through your blood-brain barrier. And if you're having brain fog and you haven't slept in weeks, those are all possible realities of outcomes of this toxic rare earth metal.
So for people that are realizing that, hey, I think I have this, what are they supposed to do? Like if their doctor's not reporting it, like what would you tell them to do if you think you have it?
I would tell them, find another doctor. I know that's hard. People rely on their insurance and they're like, Debbie, you're lucky because you have money and you've been able to go to outside of the allopathic and Western medicine to get help. And unfortunately for me, that's been the case. And that's why I've been able to connect with people and try to help them understand that this isn't going to be fixed. No one's coming to save us. And so we have to take charge of our own body, be empowered, and know that the body wants to heal itself. So we need to go back to doing the things we know. And that includes opening the detox pathways. Regenerative detoxing is becoming a real thing, and it's a buzzword right now, but it really does work and it really is helpful. And so maybe don't listen to your doctors. Maybe less is better, less medications, less synthetics, less heavy metals, less man-made chemicals, all those things that are overwhelming the body because the body doesn't recognize those things, can't reconcile them, and sometimes can't eliminate them. And when our pathways are shut down and we can't eliminate these things that are building until the body just says, I'm done. And so whether it's fluoroquinolines that you went to get help for, or an antibiotic, or this toxic rare earth heavy metal that they're looking at to look at holistically, that metal's there and it is creating chaos for many.
So is your recommendation to find a doctor outside of the Western medical system that will help them?
I think that there has to be, I think everyone deserves a seat at the table. I think everyone deserves a seat at the table, whether that's allopathic or Western medicine or holistic medicine, or you are your own best person. You know what to put into your body. You know what your body doesn't agree with. So it has to be, everyone deserves a seat at the table, and it has to be a collective approach.
Mm-hmm. So, Naomi, this question is for you. What would you recommend to people who have to have an MRI done? And this has been done to me, and the doctor says it must be done with contrast, or I cannot help you. Especially for those that are floxed that know there's no way they can get an MRI with gadolinium. What are the alternatives? Are there alternatives, and what should they say or do?
Well, Talia, you know my story a little bit. I have traveled.
Yep.
I've been told I couldn't get help in Colorado because of what happened. And I've traveled from east to west, and the gaslighting continued. So I would say you have to speak and understand that you only get one body. And while I understand that our allopathic and medical would like to have this gap with or bridge this gap, I'm sure their intentions are good. They have so much going on. It's hard to understand and really listen to someone when they're coming to you with this urgency of, hey, I hurt, and no, I have this concern. And if they don't listen, you just have to say, I'm sorry, this isn't for me. They're a business. And when we look at them as a business and we realize that our body is our decisions, ultimately, our choices, and we have to keep it safe. We only get one, you know? So I would tell people it's okay. It's okay. Don't be afraid. Know your facts. Because there are a lot of facts out there and information as to why you could present you don't want this. Especially if you have any chronic illnesses, you already are very in a weakened state. You don't need to add another toxicity to it that could trigger something else. So just be open. Discuss the option of maybe ultrasounds, maybe even MRIs without contrast. You know, I know that there are risks with all forms of testing. So some people can opt to do CTs without contrast. Again, I always will go back to an ultrasound. I would always try to ask my doctors, what's my safest options for my body? And that's what we've got to ultimately ask is, if they can't help you with that and support you, then they're not the right doctor for you. And that's okay. Maybe those doctors will learn that they're losing business because people will say, I'm sorry, but we're not the right fit. And insurance will allow you to do other visits. If you contact them and say, this didn't work out, I was able to get things covered because I was saying I was not being heard. And this was what went on. And I need a second opinion or third or fourth. Don't stop. Just never give up.
Yeah. And just, you know, a story here is that when I went for, you know, an MRI and they said, you have to have it. We can't help you. We can't see what we need to without it. And they just made this big stink. And then when I went to another doctor, so for people that aren't confident and they're like, well, the doctor says I have to, remember, we're taught what they say is gospel. So I went to another doctor and another doctor said, oh, please, I can see good enough without it. Would I see better with it? Yeah, but I can see fine without it. And here I'm thinking, if I just listened to that first doctor and let them scare me, you know what I mean? But I didn't. And that second doctor was like, we can go without it. So look at the difference between the two doctors. So I'm just trying to bring this up to your point, to get another doctor and be confident in what you want and don't want. Because there's always going to be a doctor that's going to listen to you. It just might take a while to find them. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I want to ask the both of you, for people that are experiencing this toxicity. I hate this question because I know the answer. Is there any treatments or cure for this once you get sick?
There's no cure. It's you get pretty much a half-life after, but you can choose to try to find what genetically will work for your body. Not every holistic, natural, or allopathic works for everyone. So there are chelation protocols to help alleviate. I know others have done HOPO, which is another form of to help, I think, bind and help remove some of the gadolinium out of the body and other heavy metals. And then there's also other forms like sauna with niacin. We've explored into with some other professionals have looked into. Some have also looked into the hyperbaric oxygen, and I think that's I don't remember the acronym, sorry, HBOT or something. But and so there's a lot of these ways that we've all found to help alleviate. But in the end, we're all still excreting gadolinium, still, all of us, sometimes years later.
So what do you want to say to viewers who are watching this right now and say, I've had an MRI with contrast before, maybe I've had tons of them, and I've been completely fine, so this doesn't concern me? What would you want them to know?
I would like them to know that gadolinium is now being found even in our water systems. So this is not just a one incident kind of situation. Gadolinium is not just toxic in our bodies, being input in from it only by our allopathic can inject this. This heavy metal is not natural in our bodies and biology. And so we're excreting this out in mass numbers. And so now we're finding it in our water systems because our water systems aren't able to process this. It's been years that most of them have even been updated. Most can't handle heavy metals, let alone pharmaceuticals. So they're finding that sea life, animals are starting to store this excess gadolinium that's only coming from our bodies. So I guess we have to question, even if you've never had one, there's people who are coming up testing with gadolinium in their system, and they're finding it's coming from other sources. So we have to ask where and why is the big question. And we have to say gadolinium is just toxic, and we have to find a solution as to balance getting this out of our bodies or minimizing its exposure.
That's scary. Does that mean you can eat it too? If a fish is drinking, do you know what I mean? Like if they're exposed.
Yeah, so there is studies that there's sea life, mussels especially, which most people eat mussels. In South America, there are large quantities, and I mean, they are testing high toxic levels. So now people are just thinking they're eating a mussel with maybe mercury. They have no idea that they're actually adding another alter. It's not even its original state, mind you. It's not just gadolinium like you would find in nature, which is also not a very easy natural mineral to find. It's always attached to something. So for it to be extracted, and then it has to be broken down and made into this clear liquid. So it's no longer now this metal that you could see. Now it's absorbing cellularly into our system, almost in a waterway that it absorbs. We're all cellularly attached to water. It's a big deal. So that would make sense. Yeah, we can potentially be eating it back into our systems and not know why, or drinking it in our water systems because water treatment can't process.
Years ago, they tested the cola-based products in restaurants, and those are the water-based cola products, and they did find gadolinium in those. So we are seeing it resurface. As she said, it goes into back into the system, and then it's resurfacing. So we don't want to normalize this. We don't want to normalize that gadolinium belongs in the human body, and as we are drinking it, it's not toxic maybe at that levels, but at what point does it become toxic, and at what point does it start to impact health in humans? So
yeah, that's scary. Before I close out the show, I want to ask the both of you, because I've known many people now with gadolinium toxicity or gadolinium deposition disease, and it's one heck of a ride. It's very similar to being floxed. And we always say we have such similar symptoms, and the suffering is so significant with no treatment, standard protocol, or anything, that we're just out here trying to get better and manage symptoms. So for those viewers out there that know they have it and are trying to survive with this toxicity, can you give them a message of hope that maybe someday they'll be able to regain some quality of life back or recover or whatever that may be?
I would say never give up. Don't let it consume you. It's not just because you have an illness is not a label. You can learn to adapt, and you have to have faith in it. You have to, and I'm sure Debbie will help enlighten some of that. But really, you have to advocate and never think that you're the problem, and you have to be sure of that and know that you're okay.
I would say join the support group. If you are out there and you believe that you've got some symptoms that you don't understand, join the support group, learn as much as you can, go back to basics. Less is better sometimes. Work with your body. Your body wants to heal itself. It knows what it needs and doesn't need. And you're, as she said, you're adapting, but let's not adapt. Let's go back to prevention. And then let's include informed consent. And if you already are floxed and you already have gadolinium and you're carrying a heavy body burden, do everything to eliminate that. Get your pathways opened. Make sure your organs are able to excrete things and work the best you can. If God brings us to it, he'll bring us through it.
And I want to ask before we go, and thank you very much for both being here, but how would you like people to contact you for help?
I would say
more information.
We have some websites, and I know you guys will put those in your show notes. So there's several websites out there. The support group is a great avenue. They can provide you information of places to go for resources to look at and people to work with. We're not doctors. We're not giving medical advice. We're just patients out there helping each other, lifting each other up through this. So yeah, for sure, visit some of those sites and get educated, be empowered, know what you put in your body. Informed consent has to change in our country in the medical system. Informed consent for sure.
Mm-hmm. Anything you want to add, Naomi, before I close?
No, I think that sums it up. Really, we were never informed of this risk. I don't think most people were. You don't, genetically, we're all built different. So it should make sense that we are all going to have similar reactions or different reactions. So just remember your body. So keep safe, everybody.
Yeah, be well out there.
Thank you for being here, ladies. So I want to close out the show by saying thank you to Debbie Heist Lambert and Naomi Sussman for being here today. If you've learned anything from their stories, it's that even if you had an MRI before and you've been fine, it doesn't mean that you're in the clear or that you should continue to get MRIs with contrast. For anyone that needs an MRI, not just if you're floxed, anyone, but especially if you are floxed, please do not get contrast and ask for alternatives. If you are floxed and then get gadolinium contrast dye, your floxing symptoms like pain usually increase, your neuropathy will worsen, etc., etc. So regardless of your opinion of MRI and contrast dyes, it is a scientifically proven fact that gadolinium is inherently toxic. So if you have the option to not get contrast or get a different imaging option, like Naomi suggested, maybe an ultrasound or something, why wouldn't you do that instead of putting yourself at risk? The literature will tell you that a reaction is extremely rare, but as we discussed, the volume of people impacted is absolutely significant. So even if it was true that a reaction is extremely rare, my guests have shared with you today that anyone can be part of that rare category. Neither one of them thought their lives would change so drastically after a simple, routine MRI. That's all I got for today. Thank you, everybody, and I'll see you next month.
What if many of the problems we associate with aging are not random? What if there are identifiable causes behind declining energy, chronic disease, and memory problems? We have been told that aging is simply something we must accept, that slowing down is normal, that growing older means growing weaker. But what if that's only part of the story? Why do some people remain active and engaged well into their later years? Why do others struggle with disease, fatigue, and declining health? What is happening beneath the surface? What processes drive aging? In Aging Sucks, researcher, educator, and author Red O'Loughlin explores what researchers have discovered about why we grow older. No medical degree required, no confusing jargon, just clear explanations of what researchers have discovered about the processes that influence aging. You cannot stop aging, but understanding its causes may help you make better decisions about your health, your future, and your quality of life. Because understanding comes before action. Action creates hope. Aging sucks. End the guesswork. There is hope.
My Tummy Hurts by Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Meet Jackie. She loves recess, running with friends, and laughing on the playground. At school, Jackie tries to play like she always does, but suddenly the pain comes back. Lately, something feels different and her tummy hurts, sometimes a little and sometimes a lot. With the help of a caring teacher, a nurse, her mom, and a kind doctor, Jackie begins to understand what her body is trying to tell her. Sometimes tummy pain is more than a simple bellyache. Some children live with conditions like ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease. Jackie listens to her body. She asks for help. She knows she's not alone. And Jackie finds her way back to running, laughing, and being herself. My Tummy Hurts, a kid's guide to bellyaches and bathroom troubles by Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, available on Amazon and in fine bookstores around the world.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USAGlobalTV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.